So at this time, we're gonna take a few questions from our audience. Oh, come on up, George.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is George Onyenye Ong, a 20-year Air Force veteran. And my question is, what have you pioneered in your office and also the legislation that has helped the police department or crime in our community?
Well, thank you for those two questions. I'm gonna take the second one first, if that's okay with you, in terms of legislation, because we're in the legislative session right now, and we're working on a bill right now to make the possession of machine gun conversion devices a felony offense. That'll help us be able to prosecute and hold those accountable who use those what's maybe called switches to turn a regular handgun into a machine gun, an automatic weapon. That can really do a lot of destruction and damage. And so that's one of the bills that we're working on this year. But in prior years, I've worked to ban ghost guns. I've also led the effort to make strangulation a first-degree felony offense, and it is now in the state of Maryland a felony. In addition to that, I worked and led the effort to expand our hate crime statute so that it would be more applicable to what we see on the streets in terms of hate crimes. And unfortunately now, in this environment, I think it's very important that we have those tools to hold those accountable who would commit crimes against someone just because of how they look or where they're from or the language that they speak. So, you know, we've done a bunch of other pieces of legislation in Annapolis. In fact, the last one I'll just mention is that we expanded the organized crime statute to allow more underlying charges to be considered an organized crime, where we can go after not just the person who may have committed the offense, but everyone in that chain who orchestrated and planned the offense. And so that really helps us to hold people accountable who wouldn't ordinarily be prosecuted, but absolutely has a role and is playing a role in the offense. But to go back to your first question, I'm proud of many things that I pioneered, but one of the things I'm most excited about is the work we're doing around really, I think, lessening what's called recidivism, where people are committing crimes again. The reason why I honed in on that is because one of the areas that we're very concerned about is repeat offenders. How do we prevent people from repeating the crimes that they committed or similar crimes? Well, it's giving them hope and opportunity, and really a structure and a foundation to be successful. And so I created the first of its kind. It's called an emerging adult program, where people who we have held accountable, they are serving their time, but they have home plans back to Prince George's County, which means at some point they're coming back to the community. They're young, so their brains are still developing, and oftentimes they haven't had the structure or the discipline that they need in order to really become productive citizens. So we do a 6-month program where we virtually provide them with life planning training, as well as we connect them with mentors and people who are in professions that they have an interest in. When they are released, they are then connected with a life coach who encourages them and also holds them accountable. I can tell you that we've had probably about 40 people go through that program now, and none of them have returned back to the system. And we have about 23 young men in the program currently, and we actually have about 20 women now, because we've created a similar program for women who are going through that process right now. And so what it has taught me is that if you pour into people, if you give them real hope, if you give them the tools that they need to be successful, they will make better decisions. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.